I thought I'd share a little bit today about my own process as a mom, simply because I think that many many can resonate with it. When my son was born, it was so obvious to me that I really wanted to give him all the best in the world. I think that that's something that most parents want. We have maybe not always a very clear idea of what that looks like, but we want the best for our kids. And in the beginning, I was trying to be very much in tune with my son and listen to him and uh, basically do my best to satisfy his needs, which was hard when he was a baby because babies, they cry and they don't tell you I have an ache in my belly or I just want a hug. They can't express it. So I was really navigating in there and trying to do the best I could for him, and I think I did an okay job. Yeah, I felt satisfied as a mom, like with what I was giving him. But then, living in Mexico, it became very obvious to me that I couldn't put him in the ordinary school system. So, since there were no alternative schools where I was living, I realized I had to make one for him, and so that worked out okay in the kindergarten. I think that the kindergarten was really, really good for him. He liked it. He grew, he developed. It wasn't that many hours. He started the year that he was going to turn 4, so he was 3.5. He had spent all his early years with me and his dad. But then when it moved into being primary school and primary school time for him, it was really clear to me that he wasn't doing well. He didn't like it. He wasn't flowing in the school, and I stopped listening to him. I stopped listening to his needs. I stopped prioritizing him because, first of all, I was convinced that he needed to go to school, and second, I was in charge of the school, and so I felt a lot of responsibility towards all the other families. And honestly, I got lost in that process. I felt that there was a lot of pressure, like outside pressure, on my son, how he was supposed to behave, how he was supposed to do things. There was a lot of advice coming towards me. My son has Asperger's syndrome, so of course he wouldn't say hello, he wouldn't say thank you. And there was a lot of external pressure for me as a mom to step up and be a better mom and make my son do the things that he couldn't do. So I put my son into this process where he was being not heard, respected, listened to. I completely forgot about his needs. I felt it inside. I felt really torn. And I didn't know what to do about it. And I let society and society's needs go before my son's needs. And this went on, like first grade was not good. Second grade was a lot better. Third grade, fourth grade, just hell for him and actually for me too. And so, yeah, I decided to start listening to him when he was 9.5. But it was really hard. It was really, really, really hard because I was still in charge of that school. And I had already done so much research. I knew about unschooling. I knew about the democratic schools where kids could choose for themselves. So I knew there were options, and it was really hard for me when my son would cry every evening and cry every morning because he so didn't want to go to school. And he said, "Mom, why do kids have to go to school?" And I was like, they don't need to go to school. You don't need to go. But I couldn't tell him. I felt so torn. And when I finally decided that my son's well-being was so much more important than my role at the school or the school per se, or more important than what society had, like society's needs for everyone to behave in a certain way, when I decided to let go of that and we could just start the process of deschooling in order to be able to go towards the unschooling, the pressure disappeared. And I think that what happens, and I'm sharing this because of that, I think that what happens many times as parents is that we completely disconnect from our intuition. We disconnect from our kids' needs, and we let society and society's needs take over and suddenly guide us in the process. And it's detrimental for the children because the children have completely other needs. And to me, the biggest difference between adults and kids is that adults, if we need something, we should be able to satisfy it. But kids can't do that. Sometimes because they don't know what it is they really need, and sometimes because they don't have a say. So in the workshop that I call My Child and Me in English, and in Swedish it's called Mitt barns bästa, I am trying to make you as participants really understand why this happens to us, why we lose track, how society is organized, and why, and that is really not putting our kids in the focus. Our kids' needs are not the focus, not for society, not for the school system. And what can we do to get back to not what we think that our kids need, but what they actually need? So that's what I do in this workshop, and I'll be sharing more and more in English because I want you to know who I am, where I'm coming from, and what my perspective is. And it has gone really from being like kind of clear with what I wanted for him, but getting lost in the process, and then completely coming back to being able to be the best mom that my kid needs. And so, yeah, I hope to see you at Bornholm in March. Bye-bye.